Good morning. I got a bunch of paper here today in case I lose my way. Thank you, Mark. That's wonderful. Touches my heart every time. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here, because it wouldn't be any fun for me to be up here and do this if you weren't here. We are in the season of Advent, and I went into Charles Fillmore's concordance, and there wasn't anything in there about Advent. So I thought, well, I'm going to be on my own. I will look at that word Advent, and to me, it's about adventure. Still not on? Oh, okay. Stay close. So what I'm going to share today is the adventure of the last couple of weeks with what came to me about Advent and the topic for the day, which at first was like, oh my gosh, that's so huge. Where would you ever narrow it down to say what you're supposed to say or what you want to say? So first thing I'd like to address is that this time of waiting for Emmanuel to come, he's not here yet, or he's been here 2020 years ago. But in the time frame, who I'd like to honor today is Mother Mary and Joseph, because without them, none of this would have happened. And the whole idea that it was such a little surprise to Mary when she was told by Gabriel that she was going to have a baby. No, I don't believe that. I never did. And so I don't know what you believe, but the teachings of the Great Rose Academy of the Tree of Life is that the world was in a very, very dark place 70,000 some years ago. And the planet of Venus was the planet, which is the planet of love, which overlights us, believe it or not. And one of the Kumaras was sent to the Golden Shrine Galaxy to ask Emmanuel if he would come here and help us. So I think that makes sense, that there was, whether the rest of the story is true, that there was probably 70,000 years of preparation before the Christ could actually come through as Yeshua ben Joseph, and then which we call Jesus the Christ, and now the Christ consciousness. So as we are on the adventure to that place of Christ consciousness, which is what Unity honors, then the things that came to me, the first one was last week was, well, ask Mark to sing the Rose. Okay, well, that's a lovely song. And when he sang it today, the line that always has touched, well, the whole song does, but love, it is a hunger, an endless aching need. That particular line, I think, is one that drives me to continue on my spiritual journey. And I know that all of you that are here are on a spiritual journey, or you wouldn't be here. So join me in this. Interestingly, also, Mother Mary's color and symbol is the pink rose. And so there's one candle that's pink. The other three are purple, which is Joseph's color, who is now Saint Germain, who is the overlighter of our country. And so I don't know if when they set this Advent thing up in the church, in the history of the church, if they had any of that in mind, or if they were just thinking pink booties for girls and, well, purple ones for boys. You know, I don't know how that all came to be, but I was thinking that was an interesting little coincidence. So that was first thing that showed up. And then I got this in the mail. It says it comes from China. And I'm thinking, oh my, if the Chinese are trying to send me roses, I better pay attention to this. We'll make this a theme. Now, if I had a joke sign like Janine, I would put that up now. Anyway, we got the flower, we got the song. And then I said to Spirit, I'm just going to open myself up to see what happens in this couple of weeks and see if any of it fits with the topic of light and love and joy. And so I love little coincidences or whatever. Maybe they're directed. I don't know. But the next thing that happened was on my computer, this summit called a workshop for rewiring your beliefs. And I'm thinking, oh, that's the third tenet of unity. I better pay attention to this one. So I go online and there was like lots of people with lots of degrees, old, young, men, women, presenting this. And there was way too much to listen to. Of course, they want you to buy something, but I just kind of went through and looked at the topics and picked out the ones that seemed like they jumped right out at me. So the first one was from this woman named, where's her name? Anyway, I'll find it. She said that her presentation was happiness for no reason. Now, I know happiness and joy aren't exactly the same, but they're pretty connected. Oh, her name's Marcy Shimhoff. So she said, and I just took some few notes on some of these, that happiness, set a happiness set point, that research indicates that happiness is 50% genetic. Now, I don't know. I guess some people are just happier than others, or, some people are just curmudgeons. I don't know, but that's what she said, 50% genetic. And then 10% circumstances. Okay, so that's life's little joy that comes along. But the 40% are habits and beliefs, which is where we have the opportunity to change the blueprint for how our life looks. So we can move out of the idea of blaming others or shaming ourselves. She likened inner happiness to building an inner home. So that takes the foundation, which takes responsibility and accountability for what's happening, to be a victor, not a victim. The second one was the pillar, the four corner posts of mind, being kind, loving, and respectful to yourself. I always like that one because in my practice of helping people, I always like to have them think about four legs under their table. They don't have four people in their life that when they're in a pile of you know what, that they can contact, that I suggested that they figure out four pillars because a good table has four legs under it. And then chemistry, like our body, heart, and soul, is part of our home where we live, where we connect to the greater whole. And then the roof, are you living your life's purpose? And last but not least, the garden, who you surround yourself with. And I think of gardens, and I think of Evie's garden with all the roses in it, and mine with a few roses in it. And it's like, okay, that makes some good sense. And she says, who we are in essence is joy. Now, I know that there's been lots of times in my life I didn't feel like that. But she says this is not to take the spiritual bypass by ignoring what's in front of you and say, oh, do I dare to be happy when there are so many people suffering in the world? Well, the answer is yes, you can be happy and full of joy when there are so many people suffering in the world, because some of it's theirs and not ours. She said to use the power of focus to find your own grace, strength, prosperity, and alignment, and to release any kind of a belief that requires sacrifice on your part, that is not meant to be. We were taught that in some of the traditions. I know my background tradition was, oh, you got to sacrifice if you want to get to heaven, right? So, and she moved on to what I really loved best was what she said was, she called it radical gratitude. And I'm thinking, okay, if I have light, love, joy, I have to do that gratitude thing. But to call it radical gratitude, that was like, okay, we'll just up the ante, up the vibrational frequency on that. So, and the challenge was to write 5 things down every day that you're grateful for every day, and to never repeat what you wrote. So as you go through this, you're asking yourself to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And what a fun idea. So challenge to myself and to all of us to consider doing that as we go through, at least go through Advent. And then I listened to another woman named Natalie Ledwell, and she talked about the 6 steps to manifesting. So she says, get into a happy place. If you want to manifest something, get into a happy place. Well, you know, so many times when something hurts or somebody else isn't doing what they should be doing, or money in the pocket isn't as you think it is, get into a happy place is not the first thing I think of. So it was like, okay, up the ante on this one. And she also said, have a gratitude practice. So, and set your intention on whatever it is, health, wealth, relationships, and get clear about what you want. Well, that's interesting because the transmissions I'm listening to has said most people don't even know what they want. So sit and think about what you want. And I had been thinking about what I want. Now here comes Christmas, and do I want this? No, I don't. No. There's a bigger thing that for me this year that popped into my mind, and that is improving my relationship with one of my sons, who's been doing a lot of inner child work for the last 4 months. And in the process, we've had some phone conversations. He's in California. And the first phone call, I pretty much got beat up. And so I let him. In fact, I welcomed it because it was like, okay, this is the first time that he and I, he's 54, he's not a little boy anymore. We had the most honest conversation we'd ever had in our life. And I was honest to a place of probably shocking him, but I felt like if we were going to make progress, we both had to be honest. And so the first conversation for a couple hours was a little trying, and I had to keep my humor going. Like he said, "You really weird, Mom, you know." That yoga stuff and that vegan diet and all the crazy things you do. I go, yeah, I know. It's how I stay alive. It's just a wonderful thing. I just was so determined to have him say everything he wanted to say without any resistance from me. So I'm visualizing what I want. And so it says, visualize our dreams. They're already in our possession. Just take action. Surrender, don't attach to what it looks like or when or where or how, and then do this consistently. Okay, so I'm sitting the other day in my meditation and I'm going, okay, if I could have what I really want, oh, this is way far out. I want to hop on a plane. I want to fly to LAX. I want to have him come and pick me up, take me to Redondo Beach to his condo overlooking the ocean that comes in from the Hawaii winds. And I want to just sit on a beach towel and listen to the waves with him. Nobody else, no wives, no husbands, no kids, no nothing, just he and I. And maybe we talk, maybe we don't. We just sit there loving each other. That was my dream. And then I said to Mother Mary, oh, I know that's a pretty big request. But she says, do it consistently. So that's and then I don't tell anybody. And then finally I go, okay, I'm going to tell somebody. So I told Roger, and he thought it was a great idea. I thought, oh, okay. So in the second conversation, long conversation, meaningful conversation, finally there was like an opening that said, oh, I can say this. I said, well, I read that most people don't know what they want. So you're working on what you want, and I'm honoring you. And here's what I want. I thought, oh, I'm going to take a chance and step myself out of my comfort zone. So I told him about my vision. And he took a deep breath, and I thought, here it comes. And he goes, oh my God, Mom, I even have a beach towel with your name on it. Thank you. Thank you. Things do get manifest. And so we haven't planned the date yet, but I'm excited. I'm excited about that adventure, whatever it brings, because it's going to be better than it was before. Okay, so then the other thing that this lady said is that most common belief people have, and I think I've heard other speakers say this, is I'm not good enough. I'm just not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not enough of this. I'm not enough of that. I haven't studied enough. Or, I mean, you can put your own word in there. So as we look at our own stories of empowerment and decide whether to act, are we telling our story again as a victim or as an act of empowerment? And that's a hard question if you're into being a victim. The past doesn't exist in this moment. It's over. So we have the present and we have the future, and that's what we're working on being good enough for. And she also encouraged those gratitude habits. So then the next thing that happened is, I don't know if any of you went to the Silent Sky play over at the university. Anybody? One? Oh, good. The young woman who played the lead part has been to Unity a couple of times. I met her at the Adelines. She is almost elf-like little lady. I think she's a student at the university, and I would guess she's 20-ish. Anyway, the play was about a woman named Henrietta Leavitt. I'd never heard of her before. And so this is Cindy Loran is the young woman who played the part. And she wrote in here, the actor's note, Silent Sky shares with us the story of Henrietta Leavitt, a brilliant astronomer, female, who worked at the Harvard Observatory in the early 1900s. The discoveries and contributions she made to the field of astronomy changed the way we view the universe. The universe of this play revolves around her. And so she was in every act. There was only 5 characters. She was in every act continually through the whole play. She has, at one time in her young life, completely lost her hearing. As a child, parents were having her learn to play the violin or something, and she didn't like it. And so she said she didn't know if not liking hearing the violin or what happened. Nobody still knows what happened, but she went completely deaf. And so she spent some years trying to figure out, let's see if we can get it going with hearing aids. No, she said nothing worked. And so interestingly, Henrietta also was deaf, or mostly deaf. And so here is, I know Cindy, and then the story that she's playing this woman, that she's living this problem. And of course, I got some of my hearing disabilities myself, so I'm tuning in with my heart big time. Upon first reading Silent Sky, this is her words, I felt an immediate sense of admiration for Henrietta. She is not some distant historical figure known only for her scientific law. She is charged and poised and curious in every way. And, given that time in history, women hadn't even got the right to vote. So here she was loving the astronomy, the sky, the stars, what she's seeing, and being in her joy with that. And at the same time, fighting the odds of some woman getting to go to someplace like Harvard to do more studying, because the women weren't even allowed to look through the telescope. Anyway, she goes on. In spite of the negative attitudes towards women in science, a lack of respect from male colleagues, and her profound hearing loss. And so by telling her story in the theater today, we are able to advocate for equality, accessibility, and representation. As an actor who was also diagnosed with severe hearing loss at a young age. I am honored to bring Henrietta's experience to the stage and raise awareness for assistive technology and how it has changed over the decades. So when I first met Sydney, she was coming to Sweet Adeline's just to listen so she could learn how to hear again. That's just a year ago. And so between that time and this time, here walks in this, of course, they had the costumes and the beautiful costumes of that time. And she is so full of poise. And I'm going, is this really Sydney? From this quiet, shy little lady to this dynamic personality. And she carried that energy with her through the whole thing. So through the play, she ends up having to confront the male boss who doesn't think she should have a right to anything. And pretty soon, you know, she's working night and day because she just loves this stuff. And pretty soon she's finding new places in the universe that nobody else has seen. And so this just keeps unfolding. And of course, then the boss, he kind of softens a little, and pretty soon he thinks he's in love with her. And so there's another dynamic to the story, but then she has to go back home because there's problems in the family, and he has to go on to study in France. And so they're separated, and they send these love letters, and then all of a sudden he doesn't, because he found somebody else. But anyway, she stays true to her joy through the whole thing, and then ultimately ends up with some kind of a disease. I don't know what it is. And so they had it all built up with these boxes so she could walk up these boxes, and she's up there after she dies. And the rest of them, the other four around, and then there's a voice comes in and says, okay, and this one died, and that one died, and this one died, and that one died. And so at the very end, she is like a star. I mean, she's talking to the universe. She's proclaiming the beauty of it, proclaiming the mysteries of it, proclaiming all of this to the degree that I'm sitting there in total awe, and I start to cry. I mean, it's like, oh my God, this is inspiration. This is transformation. And so as I reflect on that, I thought, what was it that she did? And I realized she was good enough. She somehow had told herself, I am good enough to do this. And not only was she good enough, she was excellent to do this. So I actually asked her, had a friend ask her if she would come and do that last line here today, and she was not able to do that. But I offer that as it was magical. Okay, so the next thing my next adventure was the Radio Rose Academy sent out this thing, said, oh, you might want to read this. It's a YouTube on what happens when people pray. And it's a story, and there's a YouTube, and I only going to share a little bit of it, but this woman is a respiratory therapist, and she's on her way to the hospital, and she gets hit by a semi-truck, and it kills her. And so she goes to the other side, and after 7 hours and 42 minutes, she comes back and she recounts what happened and what she saw. And for me, this was like magical because, like, okay, I love colors, and they're talking about what color are prayers, and Gabriel, which I think is fitting for this particular time of the year, shows up to her. And so I'm going to share some of the things that she said. She said the impact of the semi was not painful, just a flash of blinding light and then peace. It was like being in a place of pure consciousness to compare images, imagine being a living tapestry of light where each thread represented a different prayer in the world. She saw the prayers, each being a unique light of color, streams of energy, visible and tangible, pulsating with its own rhythm and intensity. Some were bright and focused, like razor beams cutting through the fibers of reality. Others were softer, more diffused, like waves rippling outward. A presence appeared beside her, not exactly an angel in the traditional sense, she said, but being a pure light who identified himself as Gabriel. His voice didn't come through her ears, but resonated directly within her consciousness. You've been chosen to witness, he said this, because you understand the needs to grow. So to me, the adventure of Advent is a challenge to us to grow, to go deeper into our beliefs, deeper into ourselves, deeper into our actions. She said, prayer is not just asking for things, it's participating in the fundamental creative force of the universe. Different prayers create different effects and light and colors. Gratitude is a golden ripple. Healing is green and blue energy, at least for her in this experience. Guidance, purple streams. And then collective prayers, altered circumstances, intertwined, magnifying each other and opening channels for divine intervention. So I tried to imagine what that looked like. And she went on to say that the prayers of the past of our ancestors, the prayers of the future, our prayers into the future are all there held in a collective consciousness, if you would, and they are available to be tapped into at any time. So there is none that are wasted. There are some that are more vibrant because our hearts and our feelings are more into them. If we're just repeating something over and over and over without any feeling in it, they don't show up quite so bright as the ones with the heart in it. So this leads me to contemplating all these things and asking you to do the same so we can do a special gratitude celebration. Now, there's a person in our congregation who has been giving of herself for years. And she doesn't know I'm doing this. So she's going to be as surprised as everybody else. She's been of service. She is wise. She is a gentle, kind, loving spirit. So Linda Andrus, would you come forward, please? So the rose pink color is the color of the pink rose of the Mother Mary and Mother Akasha, the divine feminine, however you want to call it. This has got to be a difficult thing to receive. And so we all are probably better at giving than we are at receiving. So this is a lesson for all of you to be receiving the energy of gratitude and passing it on to her, however silently you want. So during the meditation, that's what I'm calling each of you to go inside, consider your own gratitude in life, but also your gratitude for what Linda has contributed to our community for years and years and years and years. And she continues. And also to pour energy to her. That's kind of selfish, but so she can continue. And at the same time, so she has the energy to deal with all the other stuff that is going on in her life, because we all can use some extra energy. And we can all use some extra love. We can also use somebody appreciating us. And so that's what this particular thing experience is about. So Pat, would you come up? please. Person I thought was going to have the other one on here is not here. So is there anyone who volunteers to put this on and come up and stand with me? Thank you. So each of you can stand out there just beside her as guards and guides and support people and people of love. Thank you, Linda, dear heart and gentle spirit, for being willing to share your energy and wisdom with us every day. I'm so grateful you are here with us at Unity of Missoula. May your days and energy be expanded to do what you require and desire. Know that we are here for you to support you in whatever ways are needed, to bring the energy of joy, light, and life to you and your family. We thank you.
I'm going to bring this to you.
So you're blessed with the rose oil, which is the highest vibration of oils that there is. And I've asked Jeff to play the Ave Maria as our meditation. So we'll just go into the silence and listen to the orchestral Ave Maria. And I thank you, Mother Mary, and Jeff, and everybody. Thank you all. So let's do our light of prayer protection. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We are one.